Hi, I'm John from PGP Wedding Films, and welcome to Say Yes to the Best, where we talk to the best wedding pros to give you wedding planning advice. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We have new content out all the time to help you with your wedding planning. Today, I'm talking to Becky from Sherms Catering. How are you doing, Becky?
Hi, John. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Becky is the event manager and VP of operations, and I thought you would be a great person to talk to about kind of all the craziness that's going on with COVID-19 and wedding cancellations, and fingers crossed, moving forward, weddings starting to get back underway. So can you tell me a little bit about how the coronavirus COVID-19 has affected Sherms?
Sure. So for us in the wedding industry, I think all types of vendors are going through things. And for us personally, we've had to postpone over 30 weddings. And so thankfully, we've had all of our couples stay with us. So we haven't had any cancellations. And that's big in our industry, is definitely postpone, don't cancel. So I think that's one of the biggest things, and it's affected us in other areas of our business as well. But as far as weddings, we've gone to having 2 or 3 weddings a weekend to 0.
It's been definitely crazy, especially now that we're into May, and I know for me personally, May was going to be a pretty busy month, and now it is not a busy month. So it's been definitely a change. So beyond just the fact that, normally you'd be busy and now you're not, are there any other ways Sherms has been affected?
We have. So thankfully in the food service industry, there's a lot of things that are being asked of all companies now that are standard for us. So we have standard hand washing procedures in place. We have proper sanitation in place. We always sanitize counters, door handles, things like that. But we've definitely had to step our game up just a bit more, make sure that every single person is washing their hands at least once an hour, make sure the counters are wiped down, make sure there's hand sanitizer in the vehicles. We have all of our drivers using gloves upon each delivery. So we have a lot of drop-off service. And so we're doing no touch contact deliveries, but at the same time, we do want to make sure our staff is safe. So we have bags and gloves for each driver in each vehicle, as well as hand sanitizer, just to make sure everyone is fully on board with that. Everyone has to wear a mask if they're in the front room and if they are going out to deliveries. So all of that has definitely been a change, and we've refocused our income stream simply to continue business. So we wanted to kind of stay open because we, as a company, believe in still continuing to give back. So a big part of our mission is giving back. We give free lunch to the community 3 days a week, and we offer discounted meals for all those on the front lines, and we are feeding some on our own dime as well. And so we just kind of shifted everything to be able to keep some income coming in. And then we also just are still leaning into all of our couples, leaning into all of our vendor friends, I call them frienders, and also leaning into all of the corporate customers that we support on a normal basis with catering, and figuring out how we can still be a part of their normal lives and their daily lives, and when they are coming back, how we can support them.
If you're looking for takeout right now, definitely check out Sherms. They're doing a lot of great things in the community, so it's really important to support small businesses right now, and especially people who are working for the greater good. So check them out. All their information is going to be below. One thing that I also wanted to kind of talk about and look a little bit forward is, events starting up again and weddings starting up again. What do you kind of, little caveat, obviously, what you say today could be changed by different standards or the way the virus progresses in a week. But, how is Sherms kind of preparing for starting up again? What sort of new procedures are you having to come up with to kind of keep guests at weddings safe?
So we actually had a few weddings the weekend this first hit Delaware, and we proceeded on as planned for all of them and added a few things. And so what we're going to do as a company is continue those things forward and add more things as necessary, whether it be CDC guidelines or Board of Health guidelines, always still washing our hands and things like that. But what we did is both of those weddings had a served buffet. We as a company always offer a served buffet. And so what we did was added roll tops to the top of the buffet to make sure that the guest felt safe, knowing that no guest was coming in contact with their food, only the staff was. So for that wedding, it was before masks were required and everything like that. Moving forward, we will continue with served buffets if allowed, and add the roll tops complimentary. They add a little extra level of elegance anyway, and we will continue to have those so that only our staff is near the food. That's thing one. Thing two, all servers will be wearing gloves. Normally in the food service industry, once you've washed your hands, unless you're preparing the food, gloves are not required. But to add that level of safety and comfort for the guest, we'll be doing that. We have ordered custom masks so that if we are required to wear them as a vendor still, they'll all match. They'll all disappear into the background. They're not going to be like a print. They'll all be black so that we are not the feature of the day. We will also be adding mobile cheese boards to our weddings. I think that cheese boards and charcuterie displays are big things right now, and something we're hearing the buzz about once events are allowed back in our area is that there will be nothing stationary that's self-service. So I don't want the couples to have to go away from something they've tried and they really enjoy. We make a lot of our own homemade pickled items, so I want to be able to continue that. So we're going to have mobile cheese boards. What that looks like, I'll get back to you. But that's one of the biggest things we're doing in that side of things. We also last week hosted our first to-go tasting, which again, a big part of our industry is making sure you trust the people that you're hiring, which includes your vendors and your caterer. So if you've never tried our food before, I still want you to try your food before contracting with us to make sure that our cuisine fits in with your taste buds and that the vision for your day is the way you want it. So the couple picked up a bag of hot food. I had their menu. I gave them an iPad to borrow. We Zoomed afterwards so that they could talk to me still and be able to have the conversation and write down all the notes. But that way they could still have a tasting, feel comfortable. Her parents were older and she didn't want to necessarily come into the shop, and that's not allowed right now. So once we get back to it, I still might offer to-go tastings. I think that we should kind of lean into some of the things we're having to do because everyone has busy lives. And if they can just have a to-go tasting and choose their menu and try it at home and then Zoom later, let's do it.
Are there any kind of big changes that you guys are anticipating when weddings start back up?
So a couple things I anticipate. One are micro weddings. I think that's going to come around. I think that, the old way of thinking that everyone's going to have 100 guests minimum is not going to happen. I think that still will be a category, but I think there will also be a category of smaller, and we're into it. We're all about it. We love intimate, small settings. So that's something that we're definitely interested in. I think that there's also going to be a huge switch to plated service. I think traditionally a lot of people hire an independent caterer and sometimes don't want plated. So to be talked into plated is going to be hard for them. Normally plated to some feels stuffy, to others feels elegant. So it's nice to be served at an event. And I think that there's going to be a huge shift to that for a while. And that's something that we as a full service caterer are willing and capable of doing. I think that lately there's been a lot of stations. Some people call them like chef action stations. And that's been a huge thing that we've been doing for a while. And I think unfortunately, for some time, that's going to be something people won't be comfortable with. So you might not have the pasta station you've heard about, but we can make an amazing pasta that might be plated or served at a buffet instead of that. So I think those are two things that are going to shift tremendously in this short term. Whether the CDC and the WHO are comfortable with it, I think for guest comfort, those might be things that are going to be shifted.
Do you think there will be any changes that have to kind of go into cocktail hour? Because obviously there's a lot of finger foods a lot of time in cocktail hour. Any anticipation with any changes there?
I think so. I think that's something we're still kind of awaiting to see what people are comfortable with. For us, most of our couples love cocktail hour. They actually extend cocktail hour. They might have an hour and a half or 2 hours, and it's a feature for them. I think the feature is going away. I think that if I had to make a guess, people are going to ask for a shorter time. Traditionally, the cocktail hour is when the couple takes photos. So they're taking photos, so that the cocktail hour is something for the guests to do during that time. More and more couples are trending towards the first look before the wedding. So there isn't as much time needed there, but there still is so many photos to take because you want to capture everything throughout the day. This happens one time. So I think there might be a shift from extending the cocktail hour to actually lessening the cocktail hour. We, as a company, prefer to pass all the food anyway throughout the cocktail hour because I find that people are engaged in conversation and they're having a good time. They don't want to walk away to get the food, but we want to make sure everyone enjoys the food. So for us, that's going to be pretty standard. But I think that it might be more like we offer a small guacamole cup with a chip and there's no touching needed for that. You can grab it off of the tray and it's good to go. Versus a scalp wrapped bacon, you have to pick up the pick, and then I don't know. I think that's something we're waiting to see what's going to happen. So far, most of the couples I've spoken to want to keep their menu as is unless the state requires they change it. So they might be willing to switch to plated, but they definitely want to still keep that heavy cocktail hour. So I think more might depend on if people decide to push back because of the restrictions versus change things. And again, we're just kind of, like you said before, the standards seem to be changing daily. So our governor put out new standards on Friday, and Monday they were different. So I think I say, at the final walkthrough that we're at, whether it's virtual or in person, we talk about your plan A, and then a few days before, we're going to talk again and make sure plan A is still 100% on board. And if not, and we have to tweak a few things, we're still going to be there. We're still the same company you entrusted. Your photographer is going to be there, your videographer, your venue. We're all still the same vendors you entrusted from the beginning. It's just a matter of shifting your date or shifting small things, but your love is still there. We still want to celebrate the love. And it's just a matter of making sure everyone is safe while doing that.
Obviously, pretty much any couple who has a wedding coming up, whether it was going to be this summer or even into the fall or next year, they're feeling probably a little bit of, fear, a little confusion, uncertainty. Do you have anything that you would say to couples who have a wedding coming up, but they're not quite sure where it stands and they don't know what to do?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is our heart feels everything you're feeling. We've been going through this for weeks and months, and we're all ready to be out on the other side of this, but don't feel you need to rush into your decisions. Definitely take the time you need to be educated, to talk to your vendors, hop on a Zoom call with all your vendors at the same time and see how they're all feeling about everything. If you need to push back a month, your love is still there. And if you need to push back a year, let's make sure your VIP vendor team is all available on the same date. We've had a lot of couples choosing Mondays or Thursdays because their venue maybe is booked next year, and still do that. Still choose the same vendor, still trust everyone that you've trusted from the beginning, and know that we're all here and willing and ready to work with you. We want your day to be perfect just as much as you do. And I know me, for one, will make sure there's a little something extra for you that day, because I want to make sure you feel celebrated and loved just the way you would have the original date. None of us wanted this pandemic. We're ready for it to be over.
That's incredibly well said. Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that has been a little bit of a positive, very little, but seeing vendors kind of work with couples and kind of show that it's not just, sign the contract, we do the job and we're done with you. It's, we understand how special this day is for you. And we know we didn't want this, you didn't want this, and we're going to do everything we can to kind of, whenever the wedding is and however it looks, make it as special as possible. So that's been really cool to see, and more makes me feel good when I scroll through my Instagram and I see people kind of coming together and working together.
For sure, same.
Well, Becky, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you within 6 feet once it's safe without a mask. And if not, I have a cute one. You know it.
Oh, I've got my mask ready. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see you too. Thanks again for being a part of this. And again, if you're looking for takeout, Sherms Catering, all of their information is going to be below. And if you need a wedding caterer, also reach out to them. They're great and they'll do a great job for you. Again, just as you heard, they're a company that's really going to go above and beyond to make sure that your day is awesome. So thank you again for watching Say Yes to the Best. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We have new content out all the time to help you with your wedding planning. Thanks again and happy planning.